A Japanese proverb says that the reputation of 1,000 years can be destroyed by the conduct of 1 hour. Welcome to the Personal Branding Podcast with me, Olive Gachara. And in this episode, we are talking about the very delicate conversation around reputation management. Now, reputation management is one of those things that people tend to only think about within the corporate spheres. And when I say the corporate spheres, I mean like big corporate, not even small business SME type spaces. Reputation management is about being able to influence, control, enhance, or even hide other people's perceptions about different elements about a brand, whether it's a personal brand or an individual brand. The key difference between personal branding and reputation management is that personal branding is in your control. You're able to create a very intentional brand. You're able to create an image of how you want to be perceived. Everything we've talked about in the preceding episodes. But then reputation management is all about perception. Like I like to say, simply put, you're what you look like, you're what you say, and you're what other people perceive of you. Now, reputation management falls under that perception sphere, and there's very little control that you can have over it, or at least so we think. Much as this is a topic that seems to be big within the corporate spaces, I believe that this is a conversation that we need to have within the personal branding space so that we have control over how people perceive us, and we're also able to monitor our brand's perception and growth over time. We shall touch on the phases of reputation management as well as the different types of reputation management. But first, it's important to highlight why this is so important in the personal branding process. Seeing that we live in a world of misinformation, disinformation, and semi-permanent Google records, it is more important now than ever to ensure that we are actively aware of how people are perceiving us out there. And if you think about it, every time you're meeting someone for the first time, at least every time I'm meeting someone for the first time, the first thing I do is go online and search their name and see what comes up so that I can have a rough idea of the type of person that I'm meeting, right? So anytime a new person approaches me, either with a business opportunity or with an interview request, anything that they want, right? Whether it's to do with consultancy or to do with the magazine that I run, the first thing I do is do an online check quickly. You know, we talk about DCI, Kenyan DCI is the best. We do a quick online check to see if this person is who they say they are, if they are credible, if they are worth engaging with, if they're worth having conversations with, and just the way you're going to be searching about other people to find out who they are and what they're about is how other people are searching about you to find out who you are and what you're about. And that's where reputation comes into play. Because when somebody searches you, the first thing that comes up is your social media platforms, as well as any stories, articles, or conversations that have been had about you, especially if you are more of a public figure than most. So before you even continue listening or watching this episode, I would like you to do one thing. Pause, go online, whatever search platform you use, key in your name, and do a quick search to see what comes up when you Google or when you search yourself in the World Wide Web. It is important to actively manage your reputation, both online, on ground, in person, with your customers, with your clients, with your colleagues, with your friends, with everybody around you, because it increases your credibility, it builds brand loyalty, and it also increases your brand value. We live in a world where anything that you say online nowadays triggers somebody or the other if you're not very careful. And especially if you are a more public brand than most, it's important that you're very intentional about the type of presence and the things that you say online in the world of cancel culture and all of that stuff that's going on. So where do you start when it comes to reputation management? Just like personal branding, this is a lifelong process. It's something that you have to consciously do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis to ensure that your brand is perceived the way you want it to be perceived. The three main phases of reputation management include building a credible, reputable personal brand, maintaining a credible, reputable personal brand, and recovering in a case where your brand stumbles and falls, because we can't all be perfect all the time. So build, maintain, recover. Those are the three things that you just need to keep in mind when you're thinking about the reputation management process. How do you build a credible reputation? Building a credible reputation is pretty much what we've been talking about through this personal branding podcast. It's the steps that you would take in the process of developing a strong personal brand. So if you have not listened to any of the previous episodes, please do make a point of going back to listen to them. There's very many little nuggets of wisdom that you can be able to pick up on and implement directly into your daily life as you start developing your personal brand. But in a nutshell, building a credible reputation involves being intentional about how people perceive you. And how you're intentional about people perceive you, first take the time to identify how you want to be perceived, and then taking intentional steps to ensure that you are working towards having people see you in that way, be it through how you carry yourself, be it through how you're presenting yourself in your dress, be it through your communication skills. And we shall touch on the ABCs of personal branding in the next episode. Or be it your brand positioning and your brand visibility. Maintaining a strong, solid, credible reputation is all about proactive reputation management. And proactive reputation management is akin to continuous, consistent personal brand management. We've talked about the online sphere and how, semi-permanent Google records, if not completely permanent, and anything that you do today could influence your reputation 20 years from now. So it's important that we are very aware and intentional about our online presence as we speak now. It's actually easier to manage your online presence than you think. Now, when you Google yourself, the first thing that will come up will be your social media platforms. Therefore, it goes without saying that it is important for you to have some form of social media presence. And not just to have it for the sake of having it. Like I met somebody yesterday who said that, yes, they're on Twitter or X. And they've been on Twitter for a couple of years, but they don't really tweet that much. And, so I thought, okay, let me go and look at your Twitter page. There was no profile picture and not even a single tweet. Literally, they're on that platform so they can be able to go on to Twitter and read what's happening, right? But unfortunately, for whatever reason, when you Google said person, their Twitter profile does come up. So all they have to do is, put a nice profile picture, a nice background picture, a nice brief intro, and 4 or 5 tweets that are relevant to their profession. Then they can leave it and come back to it once a month or every so often to update it or put up a new post or something more recent. So your social media platforms are what come up first, and it's important that we are intentional about the content that we put in these social media platforms that speak to our reputations. And we've all heard of situations where people's credibility have gone down the drain simply because of one simple social media post. The one that quickly comes to mind is the lady who said, she was getting onto a plane to South Africa, and she says, going to South Africa, something, hope I don't catch AIDS or something to that resort. Goes onto the plane, turns off her phone, sleeps, enjoys her 8-12 hour flight, and when she lands in Johannesburg, wherever it is that she landed, she had been trending for the entire time she was on that flight. And by the time she landed, she had lost her job. She was almost being sued. Like, there was just so many things that happened in that 12-hour period that, like I said when we started, the reputation of 1,000 years can be destroyed by the conduct of 1 hour. In this case, it was by the conduct of just that one tweet. I also remember the story around Kevin Hart, I believe it was Kevin Hart, who posted something about 10 years ago, was it 2015, that was apparently less than upright. And when he was selected to host the Oscars, I think this year, or was it last year, he was delisted because of a post from 8-10 years ago. He took the post down, he apologized for the post, etc. But still, again, I'm not going to say that that's a reputation management issue, but it just shows the power of our thumbs and the things that we talk about on our social media platforms and how they can influence our lives years and years from now. And so if you're listening to this and you're 20 years old and you like to post nonsense on your TikTok pages, on your IG, on your X, on your threads, remember, one day when your life has settled and you're grounded, you'll want to be taken seriously as a polished professional, as a CEO, as a business owner, and that stuff that you tweeted might still be there. That stuff that you were talking about might still be there or might not. So let's become more intentional now about the reputation that we are building, even for our future selves. And I can guarantee you that your future self will thank you. Over and above your social media presence, when somebody Googles you or when someone searches your name online, articles or any content that you've written on any platform will also come up. Now, if you're not a superstar and you're not getting people interviewing you, it's very easy to start something like a blog, post articles on your LinkedIn profile, and really put positive, useful content out there that speaks to who you are as an individual and that speaks to the brand that you're creating. I was actually having a conversation with a client about this yesterday, and she's like, yeah, but Olive, it takes so much work to have a blog section on my website and nobody ever reads these things anyway. Like, yeah, well, if you have a blog and you post about it, it might not convert to immediate web traffic, but the day someone is searching for your service and they land upon your website, what's going to come up will probably be the articles that you've written, because that speaks true to who you are. There's a bit more authenticity than just, your very corporate professional page. So put out positive content out there such that you have a bit more control over what your online reputation looks like. It's something that needs to be done over a long period of time. It's something that you will need to be consistent with, but eventually, they say slow and sure wins the race, right? Here we're trying to be a turtle, not a hare. So just get there slowly by slowly, you'll be able to get there. This is all about building, and building is a lifelong journey. Getting and sharing customer reviews is also a great way to develop a strong reputation online. So once you finish with a certain customer or client, if they're happy with your services, ask them to either post about it on their platforms or send you a message or an email saying thank you for the great service and being as specific as I would like to be, and share that on your platforms, share that on your website. That begins to build credibility, and reputation management is a credibility game. So that when that time comes when you have to defend your reputation, your credibility can speak for you. There's people who can stand up and say, no, you know what, I've worked with so and so, and this person is credible, this person is good at what they do. Maybe that day they're having a bad day, calm down, you don't have to be, it's never that serious, it's never that deep. I hope that makes sense. It's also important to engage and interact with people in real life, that's on ground and in person. So if a speaking opportunity comes up, if a charity opportunity comes up, anything that comes up where you have to engage with people on the ground, please get up, get out, and go and engage with people. Engage. It is one of the most critical things in the personal branding process, and it's one of the strongest foundations towards a strong reputation. It is said that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Now, you may be able to make people feel a certain kind of way online, but there is an additional sense of presence that you have when you meet and engage with people in person that you cannot take away. And lastly, let your work speak for you. Walk the walk and talk the talk. If you claim to be the best image and brand consultant, child, you better be the best image and brand consultant, right? Whatever you need to do to polish your craft, polish your skills, polish your presentation, polish your content, so that you stand out, like I always like to say, head and shoulders above the crowd. If you claim to be the best videographer, ensure that you are the best videographer. Ensure to the best of your ability, you are the best version of you that you can be. Remember, your biggest competition is not necessarily everybody else that's out there. Your biggest competition is the person that you were yesterday. Even as I'm recording this podcast today, I am ensuring that what I'm doing today is better than what I did yesterday, which is better than what I did 2 or 3 days ago, right? Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, I don't know what they call that, insanity, perhaps? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. Sometimes we can do our best to build and maintain a strong, credible personal brand. However, life, as it always does, may throw us a curveball or two. And the funny thing about curveballs is that we know they're curveballs, but we never really see them coming. So when a curveball comes your way, it could be something that could be detrimental to your reputation. And sometimes it's something that you've either done unknowingly, it's something you've done knowingly that you didn't think other people were going to see, but then they found out. We could find ourselves being thrown into a scandal because you upset someone, or you did something bad, or you happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And we know that nowadays every single person is a powerful storyteller because of the device that they have on their phones. Now, what happens when you find yourself in crisis mode? What happens when you find your brand suddenly under attack? And I know for a fact that a lot of people nowadays try to avoid Twitter, or is it X, because for some reason that's where all the drama seems to happen. They're like, let's just go to Instagram where everybody's living their best lives, or to TikTok where everyone's trying to make everyone happy. This Twitter space, apana, you might tweet the wrong thing and then kidogo you're trending for 2 days, right? Finding yourself in that situation is when you go into reactive reputation management. That's when you need to recover your reputation. That's when you need to recover your strong personal brand. There's many things you should and shouldn't do, and I've put down 2 articles that really unpack this in a lot of detail in the link below. Otherwise, this is a whole podcast on its own, and we're not here to talk about reputation management only, but personal branding in general. But in a nutshell, the first thing you should always do, like in any other crisis, is calm down and just don't say anything. Don't react. I know it's called reactive reputation management, so it's a bit punny, but yeah, don't react. Like, don't instantly go on the defensive. Don't instantly start clapping back at people who are attacking you. Because sometimes, especially if it's on the World Wide Web or if it's on platforms like Twitter or is it X, you'll find that trying to clap back or trying to defend yourself loudly is literally like putting an individual in the middle of a soccer stadium trying to scream their truth when everybody else is screaming and shouting. Nobody will hear you. You'll get drowned in conversations, you'll be misquoted, and you'll just find yourself having a very, very rough, unnecessary time and digging yourself deeper into the hole that you found yourself in. So what do? Do you just stay silent? Well, not necessarily. First, it's important to note and to have the confidence in the strength of your personal brand, in the strength of the brand credibility that you actually have. And second, take the time to sit, review what content is going out there, and either by yourself or with the help of your friends, your family, your consultants, colleagues, anybody around you that you think will be valuable, craft one strong statement that you think captures your personal truth. Put that statement out either in writing or as a video, and let that be the end of that. So it is important to note that as you're developing your personal brand and making your brand more visible, there'll be moments where people will try and clap back at you, people will try and throw shade at you, hoping that they'll bring you down for whatever reason. It could be because you just did not make the right friends. It could be because you just made enemies along the way, or you just have people who generally don't like you. People think you're pretentious. People who don't even know you will be talking smack about you because that's just the world that we live in. And as opposed to letting that affect you so much, when you get into crisis mode, say one thing to your truth and move on in the process of building and developing and ensuring that you have a strong, credible brand. And it happens to the best of us. Even I've been trolled on social media in the past. And as that was happening, we were having business meetings, people are asking, are you still trending, Olive? I'm like, yes, I think I am. I've not checked in the last 2 days. And we continue having our conversations because people know the credibility of the person that is in front of them. But if you do not have a strong personal brand, if your brand is shaky, if every time content that's going out about you is shady content, then that starts becoming what people think about you, and that starts affecting your brand value, that starts affecting your credibility, that starts affecting how your customers and your clients see you. Remember that at the end of the day, despite reputation management being important in the personal branding process, be more concerned about your character than your reputation, because your character is who you are and your reputation is what other people think you are. An ironic way to close this topic, I know, but I'm sure you get my drift. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Personal Branding Podcast with me, Olive Gachara. And as you go out there to develop your personal brand, remember to be conscious and intentional about managing and maintaining a strong reputation so that you can be able to sail through the hard times and get your brand to even higher highs. Do share this content with anybody that you think will find it useful, and I look forward to having you listen in on the next episode.